Loud. All right. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen. Okay, everyone can see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, yes.
All right. So, welcome everybody. We have a really hot topic tonight. It's all about physical intimacy. Those of you who know me know that when it comes to us, to women, to our sisterhood, I have no filters. I believe that it's very important to speak very openly and honestly. Like, yes, there's a time to be modest, there's a time to be tzniut, but there are certain issues that we must talk about. And like there are times when we go to the gynecologist and we kind of take our clothes off because we must look at every single part of our body to keep it healthy. So my belief is that even though it might feel uncomfortable for some of you, and I totally understand, trigger warning, like we're going to be talking about sex and intimacy and all different kinds of things. So if it makes you feel uncomfortable, I'm just letting you know that this is the topic here. And there's no filters and all boundaries are off because even if there's one woman in this group who is dealing with certain things that we're not used to talking about, I feel like it's very important to bring her in and to let her know that she's not alone. And if it's not for you, like I always say, take the fruit
Take a
and throw
shower?
away the pits. Guys, please mute yourself just so that it's not disturbing. Okay. So yeah, so take the fruit and throw it. If it's not for you, just let it go into one ear, now the other. If it is for you, this is just information to let you know that you're not alone in this world and that it's something that can be worked through. And this is the purpose of this conversation. We're having conversation, we're learning skills, because a lot of these things, our mothers didn't teach us, our teachers didn't teach us. There was always that level of discomfort or whatever it is. So if this is something new for you, just know that this is all part of being an adult woman. Okay, so those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. So happy to have you as part of the sisterhood, as part of the community, as part of our village. And I'm Irina. I'm a special education teacher by day. I'm an intuitive coach, evenings and weekends and whenever I can fit it into my schedule. I have always been intuitive, and since I was a young girl, I've always kind of like picked things up, but I didn't really have a way to hone in my intuition. And I've always been like an empath, just like absorbing everyone's energy and not really understanding what was going on, thinking that it's all my energy. As I got older and I started like learning more about these things, and I trained with teachers from Israel, from the United States, I kind of learned how to hone my skills in. So um, um, I'm here to serve Hashem, and the way that I serve Hashem is by tuning into my intuition and by connecting women to their intuition, so that whenever we're connected to our intuition, that's our highest, we're connected to our neshama. And I feel like this, when I learned about Laura Doyle and her ability to just take all these teachings about standing in our divine feminine power, and she just practically put it into skills and how we can bring it into our life. I just thought it was so beautiful. I was called to share this value with our community. So yeah, that's basically just the little backstory. And so we started reading the book in November, and we kind of do like a little bit here and there. And whenever I'm able to, we do these live classes. So we really like stretch that out. But I also think it's very important to stretch this information out, because it's a lot of new information that we weren't exposed to before. And the way that we change a habit is by taking it in and practicing it for 40 days. It takes 40 days to really embody. It's like one thing to know something, but it's another thing to live it, to embody it. Like if I ask you what's your name, you're gonna tell me your name. If I ask you how old are you, you're gonna tell me how old are you. If I ask you like about practicing a skill, it's gonna take you a minute to think about it. It's because when you embody something, you know it. You know it like when someone asks you, you right away you know it. So living these skills and practicing them over an extended period of time helps you really embody it and live it. So they really have, kind of have a life of their own, and they create such a beautiful connected intimacy in your relationship that it motivates us to move forward and keep learning and working through them. So there are 6 skills. We are on skill number 5, and I just want to review skill number 5, which is vulnerability. And actually, we're gonna go into reviewing all of the skills. But because like the topic of this week is about physical intimacy, and there's a lot of vulnerability that goes into it. Shoshana, my love, can I ask you to take, because you're walking and it's like distracting you because you're not like staying still.
Oh,
So yeah, so you could just turn your screen off until you come home. Thank you. I
no,
love you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to start with vulnerability. Let me just move my screen over here. All right. So reveal your heart with vulnerability. I'm not sure what page this is on. It is skill number 5. Okay, I'll put in the pages, I guess, in the chat later. All right. If what you want is intimacy, you must be vulnerable. It feels risky, and it is. You'll know when you're being vulnerable because part of you will resist. Maybe you'll want to hold back your tears or pretend you weren't disappointed or that you don't need help. Memorize that feeling and bravely walk into it as much as you can. Because what there is magic. Vulnerability is not only attractive, it's where you get that incredible, indescribable feeling of being loved just the way you are by someone who knows you well. So being vulnerable is basically it opens up one second. It opens us up to being vulnerable opens us up to being true, being who we truly are. It's literally like taking the shield off our heart and being open. So a lot of times we're so used to shielding our heart because, when we were honest as children, we were kind of told like, when we would get hurt and we would cry, we were kind of told, oh, it doesn't hurt. Our feelings would kind of be dismissed or invalidated. So we kind of disconnected from being vulnerable, and we started having these beliefs that vulnerability is not safe. So we shielded our heart. But what that does is it kind of hides our true feelings, who we really are. Like those women in this group who have been practicing saying ouch and setting those boundaries and teaching our spouses like how we're really feeling inside. And for the masculine, it's so important for us to be vulnerable because then it allows them to be vulnerable. If we don't know how to be in touch with our emotions, then they have no permission to be in touch with their emotions, and that's when there's conflict and there's that tension between us. Vulnerability is not the same as a weakness. It actually takes much more strength and courage
Yeah.
to risk
I got a
emotionally than it
Cool.
does to stay defended. Sometimes we don't even know we're being defended. We just know that it would feel uncomfortable. To admit that we don't know what someone is talking about or say we're lonely. Like, sometimes I remember I was working somewhere and someone came to help me out, and I was open and I said, I don't know what this is. And my boss said, don't ever say that. Don't let people know that you don't know something. I'm like, but I really don't know. And when I say I don't know, then they explain to me and then I get to know. But some of us were taught, like, don't let your guard down. Don't let anybody know that you don't know something. Pretend that you know. Pretend that, but then what am I left with? I'm left with not learning something new. But this is just a way that some people survive in this world, Or sometimes we're afraid to say that, instead of letting our husband know, I miss you, we'll say, oh, you're never here, you're never around. but it's a much more vulnerable way to just say, I miss you. And we get so much more what we want when we are open and vulnerable. So the prescription of this chapter is to practice being vulnerable. Start by admitting that you're hurt instead of defending yourself. Instead of saying you hurt my feelings, try saying nothing but ouch. Because the minute we say you hurt my feelings, the minute we say the word you, that's it. The fence comes up, a shield comes up, he can't hear us. There's no communication
Such a good movie, guys.
I'm playing a video game right now.
But if my feelings are hurt and I just say my feelings are hurt,
Maybe I
and I
should
say
change them. Maybe I
ouch,
should good movies.
and I say ouch, you know, I'm still communicating that I'm hurt, but the fact that I'm not saying you, he doesn't need to put his shield up, and then we're communicating effectively. So instead of saying you're never home, the way to be vulnerable, again, do you see it in you're never home? I'm using the word you. The minute he hears you, it's like you are never home. So he hears you're wrong. That's it. Defense comes up, he's not hearing me, he's just defending himself, and he's not able to make me happy because he's in the energy of like, right now I need to defend myself, and when he's not safe, he can't focus on making me happy. So instead of saying you're never home, we can say I miss you. It's what do I need, how do I feel, what do I need? You know, I feel lonely and I miss my husband, and I would love for him to be around more, right? So if I say I miss you, there's no defenses. He's open, he's receiving what I'm saying, and he's much more likely to make me happy. Instead of trying to do it all when you're overwhelmed, say I can't or I need help. It's very, you know, again, in our tradition, in our community, we're taught like you must do it all. You know, the woman must do it all. We must work and, you know, have the babies and raise them and parent them and be the best mom ever. And it's a lot, it's overwhelming. And when we learn how to be vulnerable, and when we really, my plate is full, and I say honestly and truthfully, I can't, and I create that space, someone will fill it, either the husband, the mother, whoever, you know. But it's so important for us as women. We are the space, you know, and the husband fills that space. But when we don't know that, we have the space and we're constantly filling that space. So we're feeling frustrated. He's feeling frustrated because we don't give him the opportunity to fill that space, because we're like, well, we judge him and we say, well, he's not as good at this as I am. We come into control. We start doing everything our own way, and it creates tension, and it creates a disconnect. And then we're wondering, why is my marriage, you know, not as intimate as I would like it to be? Instead of trying to figure everything out yourself, ask for advice when you're not sure what to do. So again, a lot of this is being open and being vulnerable. And it takes a lot of strength, a lot of humility, and a lot of strength to do so. So she kind of starts off, again, Laura Doyle kind of caters to the, you know, to the world community. I'm kind of trying to create this container for our community and what we relate to. So the things that she talks about, some of the, you know, she talks about premarital sex and how when you're married, sex is better when you're married. I feel like for the most part, you know, for most of us, we're in the community where this is something that happens after we're married, so we know that. But there are some you know, interesting points that she makes that we can all relate to. So I'm going to focus on that. Okay, so sex is the one thing that only you and your husband share.
What page are we on?
So I don't really have page 234.
Thank you. Chapter?
This is chapter 23.
Thank you.
Okay. So sex is the only thing that you and your husband share. It's what separates your romance from every other relationship you have. You might talk intimately with your sister, you might snuggle with your kids, but sex is only between you and him. That's what separates a husband-wife relationship from any other relationship. Um, Take that out of the equation, and your relationship is no longer a romance. You two are co-parents, roommates, or business partners on a mortgage, but not lovers. So sex is what makes that relationship uh, a husband and wife, a spouse relationship, you know? So if the relationship is you're living together, but there's that separation. Whoever's phone is on, please mute yourself. Thank you so much. So if like he's sleeping in a different room and then it's not really a marriage. It's no longer a romance. It's like a co-parenting or roommates. And if this is anyone's experience right now, I'm telling you that practicing the skills and becoming magnetic and letting go of control and being girl of fun and light, this is how you pull him back in. But it all starts with you. Do you want to have an intimate relationship with you? Remember, whatever, all these skills that you're doing, it's for you. It's for you because when we focus on him, it's a totally different energy. All of this work, it's inside out. Whatever is work we do on the inside, this is the experience we attract on the outside. Sometimes we think like, oh, only if my husband would change, only if my husband would be different. We're giving our power away to him changing. Like when my husband starts treating me with respect, then I'm gonna treat him with respect. Guess what? You might be sitting in this stuck energy waiting for him to change. Or you can take your power back and be like, I'm going to start respecting myself. And when I respect myself, when I'm standing in my dignity, I'm respectful to my husband. I respect my husband. And when we take the initiative and we start whatever we put out, it's midah keneged midah, right? Whatever goes out comes in. So when we could either sit and wait for him to change, or we can start making the shifts and the changes and becoming respectful. And then naturally he will shift with us. Naturally, midah keneged midah, whatever we put out, we're going to get back in. Um, But what if sex is just one more area of your marriage that's not going well? What if one of you always wants it and the other doesn't? This is like a common thing that I get with my clients when I have sessions. What if one of you always wants it and the other one doesn't? What if one of you never wants it? Can you ever get to see where everybody, can you ever get to a point where everybody's happy again and have this part of your relationship be as enjoyable as it is meant to be, rather than yet another source of conflict, right? Hashem made us fit together in order for Hashem wants us to have the pleasures in this world. He wants us to eat delicious food. He wants us to have the deliciousness of intimacy. But again, everything has to be in balance. Everything has to be at the right place at the right time. Like right now, we're talking about this. We have this container of speaking about this. Like I wouldn't be going and talking about this, in a party where there's guys around. There's always the right place and the right time for everything. We want to eat delicious food, but at the same time, we want to also eat foods that our body agrees with, right? We want to listen to our body. Like if I eat something and then I have a stomach ache, my body's talking to me, it's telling me, it's not good for you. Or if I have a conflict in my intimacy, then, you know, Hashem is trying to tell me something, that there's something here that I need to work on. And a lot of times we kind of focus on the other, but really whenever something is happening in our life, it's our neshama is telling us, it's talking to us, and like there's something here that you can shift for yourself. So learning these skills is the way to shift to, like I always say, we do the same thing expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. If we want something to shift, we must shift. We must say, you know what, I'm going to try something different, just experiment and see how doing it differently gets you different results. That's where our power is. So Laura says, in my experience, you absolutely can by practicing the 6 intimacy skills. 100%. Why your husband lost interest in sex. When Gladys's husband spoke to an audience of women at her workshop about the 6 intimacy skills, he started by saying, make a face as though someone just asked you to do something horrible, like eat a child. Okay, I need one of you to do this for me. Who wants to volunteer? Anybody want? I can't see everybody. 1 second. Is there a way for me to share my screen and to see everybody? Okay, if you would like to volunteer, unmute yourself and just say your name. Come on, guys. It's just us. It's just us girls. We're playing a fun game. Should I just pick someone? Yeah, let's go. You showed up on my screen. Hashem wants you to participate.
Hey, what do you want me to do?
Okay, can everyone see Yael?
Yael is the best in it.
Okay. All right, Yael. So make a face like I just asked you to eat something like disgusting. Make a face like I just told you to eat like slimy, like something like really gross, like on one of those shows. Make a face. No, like a real. I just told you to eat like dog poop.
Can you see my face?
No.
Make a
That's
face.
when it's August 14th.
You're smiling, okay?
Mm.
This is my face if somebody told me to eat
I'm gonna have
like
music
something.
too.
Okay. Do you want to have sex with that face? All right. So this was just a demonstration. So the husband basically told all the women, make a face like someone told you to do something horrible, like eat a child. So she's like, we all obliged and made horrible faces. He told us to look at each other so we could see how unpleasant we all appeared. It was not pretty. That, he said, is how you look when you're controlling or disrespectful. You could be a supermodel, but no matter how hot you are, you're just not appealing to us in that moment. Right? So we're always thinking like, oh, you know, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not this enough, I don't dress the right way, it's my weight. Guys don't care about that. If you're respectful, if you're a girl of fun and light, if you're smiling when you see him, if you're, you know, honey, I would love, and oh, that makes me so happy, and you give him a roadmap to what makes you happy, it doesn't matter like what you look like. You're going to be a magnet to him. We tell ourselves all these stupid stories. Oh, I need to if I lose 5 pounds, my husband's gonna find me so attractive and he's just gonna want. It's all BS. It's all baloney. None of that stuff is real. It's just like these false narratives that we have in our head. What really works to bring him in and attract him is, you know, knowing I'm gonna stand my paper and I'm gonna clean my side of the street. I'm going to be respectful. And that's what draws him in. So she says it was a great way to illustrate what a passion killer control is. Just trying to move this thing. How do I do it? Okay, there we go. If the sex has gone missing in your marriage and it's your husband who seems disinterested, control and disrespect are the likely culprits. If you're anything like me, you may have thought that lack of sex was because he was no longer physically attracted to you since you gained weight or got older, but that is rarely the case. The good news is that the passion returns quickly when you clean up the disrespect and control and practice the intimacy skills outside of the bedroom. So whatever happens in the bedroom, the magic starts outside of the bedroom. Okay, so I could totally relate to this one. What if you just don't want it, right? Like we're exhausted, we had a long day, sometimes like our hormone, like, or we tell ourselves like, oh, it's my hormones, it's like that time of the month or whatever it is, right? I'm not seeing my whole screen for some reason. So what if you just don't want to? if you're the one who's lost interest in sex, that can also be a side effect of the struggles in your relationship outside the bedroom. If your husband lets you call the shots just to keep the peace, he won't seem very masculine to you. Quite the opposite. If you fall into a mother-son dynamic outside the bedroom, he's going to seem downright unappealing. If the two of you fight a lot and he's always saying mean things, you're not going to want to be as vulnerable with him in bed. So I just want to address the part about the mother-son dynamic. How many of us, have that? We don't realize, but we're like, well, I care about you, so I'm gonna go buy you underwear, and I'm going to check on what you're eating and all of these things. We don't realize how controlling this behavior is and how, like, I'm acting like his mother, and nobody wants to have sex with their mother. Like, where in my relationship am I acting like his mother and controlling him in that way? Remember, he's a grown man, and he can make grown decisions. One second, I'm just gonna take a little pause for a minute. I just have a little cough. I'll be back in just a minute, guys. Okay, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so we left off where we fall into a mother-son dynamic, right? And if we look at him like he's my son, like he's my child, like, oh, he's not capable of anything. I have to do everything. And we're creating that space and we're always filling it. Then, we don't feel so sexy being with him at night if there's like that mother-son dynamic, right? So an example also that came up for me was an example that came up for me was, so a lot of times we're kind of like telling them about whether they should be taking care of their health, and did you take your vitamins, did you take your medicine. Let him do it on his own. If he asks you to remind him, then you could do that. But if you're worried about his weight and about how he eats, and a lot of times we don't realize, for them it's super I used to do that all the time with my husband. I'd be like, are you sure you want to eat that? Oh, you're gonna have a stomach ache if you eat that. That's a very mother-son dynamic. It's not sexy at all, and that just like disconnects us, and they feel controlled, and again those defenses go up, and it never works. All those years that I tried to tell them how to eat and what to eat and all of these things, it never it didn't help him lose weight. When I stopped telling him those things, when I stopped telling him how to eat, all of a sudden he started attracting all these different YouTube videos, and his clients coming in and telling them different things that work, and all of a sudden he started being interested, like, oh, maybe I'll try. When I kind of stepped to the side and created the space, he started filling that space up with his own way of staying healthy. Right. So when we have those dynamics, and when we have all this like resentment of like, I have to be your mother, and he's like, I'm not your child, we don't realize that all of that ends up us feeling disconnected from him in the bedroom and not being in the mood to be with him intimately. All these issues clear up pretty quickly when you start using the intimacy skills outside of the bedroom. But what do the intimacy skills look like inside the bedroom? All the same principles apply. So self-care, very important. Your pleasure is very important. You have the only you have the only organ in the human body, the clitoris, that's the sole purpose, whose sole purpose it is for you to feel outrageously good. Like Hashem literally gave us this organ just for that. That's also a metaphor for your relationship and your life. You were born to feel good. The more you make your pleasure a priority, both in and out of the bedroom, the better things will be for you. I was just sharing this with my friend where, so the way that our body is, our soul is, we have three bodies. We have an ethereal body, an energy body, and then we have a physical body. So, you know, our emotions start within our ethereal body, within our, like we'll have an emotion, right? Let's say there's anger, and then if we don't deal with the anger, eventually it takes place in our physical body, and then we have problems with our stomach, with our liver. You know, anger lives in the liver basically, but it starts out with the emotion. That's why it's very important when we have certain emotions to know how to you know, how to clear them out of our energy body before they go into the physical body. So I'm trying, hold on. I went from my train of thoughts. Oh, so what I started doing recently is literally like downloading pleasure, like allowing pleasure, like right before intimacy happens. Because what we do is our brain is kind of like either in the past, we're time traveling. We're going to the past and we feel bad and guilty about all the things that we didn't do or like all the things where we don't forgive ourselves, or we're in the future and like our to-do list and all the things that we have to do and worried about our kids and worried about what's going to happen. You know, we're not in the present moment. So just like literally before being physically intimate, just coming back into the present moment. I am here, I am now, and allow pleasure. Just like literally see Hashem, like bringing in, allow, open yourself up to pleasure. And when we're in that energy, we are able to receive that pleasure. You know, that disconnect happens in our head, right? How many times did that happen to you, girls? Come on, talk to me. Right? We're like in the moment, heat of the moment, and then we're like, oh, it's my libido, it's my hormones, it's us. We're blocking our own selves from enjoying and from Hashem. Hashem is always giving to us. He's always like here, here, here. And we're like this. Oh my God, what's gonna happen in the future? Oh my God, I spoke to this girl and she didn't look at me. Does she not like me anymore? Like right in the past, we're time traveling. Come back into the present moment. Deep breath. And just allow the pleasure. And when we allow, we're open and we create the space and he can fill it in. And then our transaction is balanced. We're you know, doing our part that we came into this world to do. We're completing our purpose and all is well. That's all that it takes. You know, we just have to keep working on being open. And that's what the relinquishing control is. It's also like just being open, being present. Like, let me be present in this moment. A lot of times when we have worry and anxiety, it's because we're time traveling. We're in the past or we're in the future. Just bring yourself back. Whenever you feel like your thoughts are all over the place, just bring yourself back into the present moment and notice all the things that are working. Everything, all is well. My kids are healthy. I'm healthy. My husband is healthy. We have food on the table. I can go to the grocery store and buy anything that I want. Just like bringing ourselves back into that like state of everything that's working out, we open ourselves up, and that's how we're able to receive, you know, all the good, all the abundance in the world, all the pleasure in the world. This is just one of the things that I wanted to share tonight, so I'm happy that it came up. So the next thing is respect. One way to respect your husband sexually is to honor his choices for himself and his own sexuality. So she goes into, I mean, I'm sure that we live in 2024, you know, a lot of men and women, you know, have to deal with having porn openly available to them. And it has been an issue with several of my clients. So I'm just gonna bring it up. So if this is something that is part of your life and that you're struggling with, if this is what he chooses to do, I know it's so hard, and we want to let him know that, you know, I'm hurt and I don't like it, but the more that we control it, the less that he's likely to make us happy. Because again, he just feels like he's a little boy and I'm just telling him how wrong he is. And when you tell someone how wrong they are, they, he's already feeling guilt and shame about this. And when we're adding to it, it's not going to help him disconnect from this behavior. If we really want to support him in disconnecting from this behavior, what do? We bring ourselves into this girl of fun and light energy, and he will always choose us. The reason why he's not choosing us and he's choosing porn and all this other, baloney stuff is because he doesn't feel safe being vulnerable with us, because we have this face like, all right, I don't want you, like, we're rejecting him, we're telling him, and so he has to go. If we step into the energy of girl and fun and light, being happy, being, calm, of course he's gonna want to be with us. He's not gonna want to care. He's not gonna. That's where our power is. That's where really our control is. It's in how do I feel? What do I need? And giving ourselves that sense of peace and happiness. So you may feel strongly that those unacceptable behaviors, that those are unacceptable behaviors and you won't tolerate them. But relinquishing control means that you recognize where you end and he begins. Remember, you're on your paper and he's on his paper. Your husband is solely responsible for how he handles his own sexual urges. You certainly have influence, but letting him know you don't approve of whatever he does is a sure way to squander that influence. The more you insist that he must not do whatever he is doing, the more you're going to sound like his mother, which is not sexually appealing. It's only human nature that when you tell him it's not okay to do something, that something becomes even more alluring. So respecting your husband means letting him make his own choices without your comments or judgments, and trusting that they'll be wise ones. So this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. I trust that my husband will make wise choices. So instead of my husband is disgusting, he's a creep, he's a, because if I say that, I'm going to keep creating that into my experience. If I want something different, trust that my husband is wise and he makes wise choices, he makes healthy choices. And this is how I create what I want. I focus my energy on what I want. I look for evidence of what I want. And then wherever my attention goes, energy flows, and that expands. So if I want to expand what I want, I'm going to keep focusing on what I want, not on what I don't want. So again, if your husband is doing other things instead of being with you, it's very painful to be married to someone who's not interested in you. But again, the way back to him and to intimacy is to relinquish control. Control and lack of respect are more likely the real culprits. In my case, my husband simply wasn't attracted to me, not because he didn't find me physically alluring, which is like, the stories we tell ourselves, oh, I didn't do my hair, I didn't put my lipstick on, whatever. It's not that. The turnoffs were snippy comments coming out of my mouth and the way my eyes rolled back in my head when I didn't agree with what he said. We don't have to agree with everything he says, but just duct tape and just stand back. See how much intimacy that will get you, instead of like rolling your eyes and like, oh my God, he's so stupid. Like when you believe that, that's what you're going to keep creating into your experience. You're going to keep creating a husband who says and does stupid things because that's what you believe. Or you can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. My husband is wise and he makes wise choices. What I witness over and over is that when you bring respect back to the relationship, the sexual chemistry and desire returns in full force. If you're seeing yourself as competing with porn for your husband's attention, I have good news. Being made of flesh and blood gives you a huge advantage, but consider the possibility that he might not feel excited about being sexual with someone who doesn't respect him. The good news is that bringing back the respect in your marriage can quickly change everything. In fact, it can bring the levels of physical affection back to what it was when you first started dating. Like why, when we first started dating, right? Like we can't wait to see each other. We can't wait to be with each other. And, when we first married, like how exciting it is to finally touch each other and be physically intimate, right? Like, we just like want to be together like so many times a day. In the beginning. Why does that change? It's because, as we are together, we start with the disrespect and we start with the nitpicking and, mothering and like all of those silly dynamics and the control and all of that. And that kind of like disconnects us from that passion, but we can bring it back by just, bringing back that energy of how we were when we first started dating. One of the ways to do that is just to write down a list, like, what did I love about my husband when we were dating? What made it exciting for me? And looking for evidence where he still has that and bringing that back into your relationship. You do have complete control over whether or not, what is on your paper is the option to accept him or reject him. So this is what's on our paper. Oh, so she's saying, if it sounds like I'm saying it's okay for your husband to watch porn or whatever it is, she says, please let me clarify. What I'm actually saying is that it's his decision, right? Our papers, our decision, our choices, how we respond, not how we react to what he does, but how we respond. Take a moment and respond to what he does. Responding is being responsible, right? Having the ability to respond. That choice is always on his paper. What is on your paper is the option to accept him or reject him. So if he does something that I think is disgusting and I keep rejecting him, it's not going to bring him back to me. If I really truly want to bring my intimacy back, I focus on myself. How do I feel? What do I need? I focus on self-care, making myself happy, writing out my self-fulfilling prophecy. What do I want? How do I want my relationship to look like? And just focusing on that. That's where my power is. Again, like coming back and standing in my power instead of trying to control him. You do have complete control over whether or not you treat your husband respectfully. And when you do, that's a powerful aphrodisiac, right? Girls who have been in this group and practicing these skills, tell me, when you're using the skills and being respectful to your husband, like how fast does it like kind of bring it together? Can anyone, share their experience? I would love to hear.
I think it really makes a difference.
Mhm.
Even whenever you just stop like nagging and then picking and you just like duct tape, I think that makes a huge difference. Like just to be able, like, you're just all of a sudden they start like gravitating towards you without you even trying.
Right?
Or whenever you're just like doing something that you love, or when you're just happy, they just want to like be around you for no reason. And you don't have to like tell them like, I need the attention, I want the attention, because when you do, it like pushes them away.
You don't need to say a word. You're just there. You just be. You just be in your divine feminine power and they can't get enough of you. Right? I love that. Thank you. Was that Milana?
Yes, it was.
All right. I can't see everyone's faces, but I recognize you, my love. Is there anyone else that would like to share? Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. If you want to share later, you're more than welcome to. Okay. You might think it would be nice if you could make absolutely sure your husband never watches porn, but it's even better to focus on your own paper and use your feminine gifts for magnetism, which are strongest when you're respectful. Then, when he chooses you because he finds you irresistible, that's a much bigger rush than having him in your bed because you told him what to do. The only way to truly feel desired, and if you're anything like me, that's something you really crave, right? We all crave that. We could all relate to that, is to let him make his own choices. When you do, chances are he'll choose you. Relinquishing control. Saying we should, or, right? What's the word in we? You're saying you should. Because when we say we, all he hears is you. And when he hears you, again, that shield comes up and there's no communication happening. Saying we should, or how come you never want to, or even let's have sex are all about control, which is never good for intimacy. It's still nagging. Even if the topic at hand is sex, instead of cleaning the garage, right? Even if you're talking about sex and instead of telling him, oh, you should clean the garage, even if you say we should have sex, or how come you never want to, again, he feels controlled and his defenses go up. And even if he does it for you, it's not going to be as good as when his job as the masculine energy is to chase us. Why, to invite us on a date. And but if we're making that face and rejecting him and whatever, again, he feels defensive and he's disconnected from standing in his powerful masculine. And then we're wondering like what's going on here. So what's really going on here is he feels controlled. So when we release that control, we just create a space. All we have to do as feminine being, just put on something that not even inside the bedroom, just outside of the bedroom, just like put on something that it doesn't have to be open or whatever, just something that makes you feel good. Just feel good in your body. Put something on that makes you feel good. It doesn't have to be sexy. It doesn't have to be just something that, maybe something new that you haven't worn before. Just like when you wear it, you just feel good. Just put on something and just feel good. That is such a magnetic energy. He just want to be, like, I know in my case, like when I feel good, I turn on the music. I'm just like dancing in the kitchen. He'll just like come and just sit with me instead of going watching TV or being on his phone. I never have to tell him like, why are you on your phone? I just, I'm just like, I just have like this fun, light energy and he just wants to be around me. That's all that it takes. It just takes for us to let go of criticism, to let go of control, and we become magnetic. And this, we could take this from not only in our husband-wife relationship, we can take this to any relationship. Nobody likes to be controlled. Nobody likes to be criticized. So if we have like a weird energy with anybody in our life, just try to think like, was I maybe controlling? Did I have like a movie in my head of how they should behave? And maybe did I tell them that they should be behaving this way? And maybe this is why we have like a weird energy. Just try to reflect on, your side of the street and where you could be cleaning up your side of the street to create a better interaction. So it's still nagging, even if the topic at hand, instead of cleaning the garage, you're not going to get a good reaction and you could end up feeling rejected when he doesn't respond well. So here she talks about one of her students. Petra complained that she wanted sex far more often than her husband did, which she couldn't understand since men usually want sex more than women do. By the way, like I was just talking to a friend of mine, this shifts. So if most of your marriage, you were like in this energy of like, he always wants it more than you. As we get older, like the energy shifts. Sometimes it's him, sometimes it's you, and just be ready for that. It's just part of, I just felt like I have to bring it up because if this is what, there's nothing wrong with you. You're normal. If you're a woman who, wants it more than your husband, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. It's just part of, being human. Even though like for the most part, usually when you talk to your friends are like, oh my God, my husband, he always wants it. But if you're a woman and you're like in that state, it's totally normal also. So in her case, she's probably in her 40s. She complained to him that so instead of telling him what she wants and being vulnerable, she complained to him that he was lazy about sex and tried requesting, demanding, and insisting they have more of it. But that only made her feel more frustrated. It wasn't until she decided to take a different approach that things improved. She started by making a pact with herself to stop demanding or asking for sex at all. It wasn't easy because that was her habit, but it wasn't serving her. So she realized, okay, I have this habit. If I want something, I just go and I ask and I tell him, I criticize him and tell him that he's lazy and I don't get what I want. So the way for me to shift out of that and to get what I want is to do it differently, because she noticed that it wasn't serving her. So she decided to focus on seducing him with her body instead of saying a word. She began to be receptive and enthusiastic whenever her husband initiated sex, even if she wasn't in the mood. She also expressed a lot of gratitude whenever they made love, no matter how the ball got rolling. Instead of hearing her complain and feeling like he was falling short, her husband finally felt successful. As a result, he naturally started to initiate more physical intimacy. Petra felt so much more desired and relieved to know that her husband wasn't losing interest in her. So again, he wasn't losing interest in her. It just, he was losing interest because he felt controlled and criticized and manipulated. So once we let go of that, the whole energy and the whole dynamic shifts. You're a magnet, and your husband is built to pursue and desire you. You are the sexier sex and the gatekeeper of sex. If you forget that and act like you don't have any special powers, sex can feel like a struggle instead of a fun party for two in bed. Receiving graciously. As a woman, you are built to receive. That's a great metaphor for your entire relationship. But with lovemaking, it's pretty literal. Receptivity is the essence of femininity. So the more receptive you are, the more feminine and attractive you will be. And the more masculine your husband will be in response. So it's our job. We are the gatekeepers. So if we're able to create the space and to receive and to be present, then he is able to, you know, fulfill our desires. I'm sorry, 1 second. Sorry about that. Taking a seductive approach is not only more tantalizing and vulnerable, but also more gratifying than asking for sex directly. If you change into your sexiest undies to relax, you're letting your husband know you're receptive to having. So there's like ways to basically let him know that we're receptive and that, you know, we're open to it. We don't have to like, you know, physically go and ask him and nag him. What if he sees that you're wearing something from your naughty collection and he just brushes his teeth and goes to bed? You'll feel rejected, which hurts. But I've never had a student die of rejection. Think of this as an opportunity to express a desire without expectation. You can honor what you want. In this case, without saying a word, without being attached to the outcome. So when we feel rejected and we feel defensive, we're more likely to nag, to criticize. But you know, if we try to do something and, you know, he didn't respond to our advances or whatever it is that we wanted, it's like expressing a desire and letting go of the results. So the more that we let go, the more likely that, you know, we open those centers of receiving. You can honor what you want in this case, without being attached to the outcome. The upside is worth it. If he sees that you're receptive and takes the opportunity to make love to you, you know for sure he wanted you, and that feels amazing. Another way to be receptive sexually is to decide to make yourself available for sex whenever your husband desires you. You won't always start out in the mood, but that doesn't mean you won't end up there. There are plenty of things you do every day, even though you're not in the mood. You might vacuum when you're not in the mood because you want an orderly house. Deciding to be receptive to sex whenever your husband wants it will make your marriage more passionate, and it will also make you feel good, sexy, desired, and happy. Sex is a mood booster for all. Okay, this is something that I want to address. So a lot of times, because, you know, we have so much going on and we're, you know, time traveling in our head, we feel that we're not in the mood. So a lot of, like, sometimes girls will come to me and they'll say, you know, he wants it all the time. He wants it every day. But the reason that he wants it, first of all, because we, you know, we keep Taharat HaMishpacha, and he only has us for like 2 weeks. A lot of times because of that dynamic, they just kind of feel like, you know, if I don't get my, you know, if I don't get it now, then I have to be stuck for 2 weeks. So like kind of just understand where he's coming from. And when we stop rejecting them, they kind of stop being in this space of like asking for it all the time. Like I have it in my experience because I used to be constantly rejecting, constantly, and I didn't know this. I didn't know that I was making that face, and it really our intimacy took a huge toll. But when I learned the skills and when I learned to, you know, not reject him and to be vulnerable, the amount of time that like he would ask me like totally subsided. Like it became less and less, and you know, it became less. Like it wasn't, I didn't feel like I always had to be on. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Can you relate to that? You can turn your mic on and we can have a conversation.
No, I don't understand what you're saying. you're saying get leveled out, like there was a homeostasis achieved in like
What I'm saying is that let's say you have those 2 weeks, right? You go to the mikvah for 2 weeks, you're not available, and you're
Yeah.
only available to him for 2 weeks out of the month, right? So let's say he's asking to be with you like 5 days a week, right?
Mhm.
Because he feels like I need to get it in, and there's, I only have a limited amount of time that I can be with you. So when you stop when he asks to be with you and you allow, and you just kind of bring that desire into yourself and you allow, when he realizes that you're not rejecting, he's instead of asking you to be with him 5 times a week, it'll go down to 3 times a week. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think
That's-
there's also just like a different emotional component to it. That it's like I mean, obviously it's physical also, but like they just feel fuller and like more satiated as opposed to like always being like hungrier, if that makes sense.
Right. Because also knowing that when he asks you, because the reason why he asks you 5 times a week, because he knows that out of 5 times, at least 2 or 3 times you're gonna say no. So he's like, I just have to keep asking. But when he approaches you and you're open and you're receptive, he feels like whenever I want it, like she'll be open to me. So he doesn't feel like he has to ask you 5 times. Does that make sense? Regina? Was that clearer?
sorry, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. Thanks.
The feedback, I like when we have a conversation, the feedback helps.
The way I process it is that there's like if there's a higher probability of you saying yes, then he'll ask less often. The chances are better that he'll get a yes on 3 times instead of like possibly a no if he asks 5 times.
Right.
That's the way I understand it.
So again, the reason why he feels more likely to approach is because he feels like I have to ask all of those times because I'm gonna get rejected at least 3 out of 5. So at least I'll get 2 out of it, you know? But when we're receptive, he feels like, you know, if for him to be fulfilled like 3 times a week, he'll just be like, okay, I could ask her 3 times a week, and I'll be fulfilled. So there's no excuse me. Sorry. I'm manifesting my own offer. There's me. So we can do this in peace. Okay. So another way to be receptive is to make yourself available. So we spoke about that. Deciding to be receptive to sex whenever your husband wants it will make your marriage more passionate and will also make you feel good, sexy, desired, and happy. Sex is a mood booster after all. Like, do you know sometimes like you're not in the mood and you kind of like, we have the power to bring ourselves in a mood, like we can watch a movie, we can read a book that gets us in the mood. It's all in our mind, you know? So for like imagine eating a sour lemon right now. Just like imagine eating a sour lemon. Okay? Can you all turn on your mics? I want to hear what you have to say. Like just imagine like right now you're eating a sour lemon. Can you taste it? Can you taste that sour taste in your mouth?
Yeah.
Right? Can everyone taste it? Like imagine right now you're just putting a piece of lemon in your mouth. So the same way that we can use the power of our imagination to taste that lemon in our mouth, we could also use the power of our imagination to, make ourselves in the mood to be with our husband. It's our imagination is that powerful. I try to think about like really being like on a really fun date with him, or like a time when you were in the mood and how it felt in your body, and we could literally just like walk into that energy. We could bring it in and like putting on that, you know, I'm in the mood cloak, you know? Like this is why the industry with all these like sexy negligees and whatever, it's not about the thing, it's about how we feel when we wear the thing. That's why there's, you know, it's such a big market for all that stuff. Only you know for sure what's right for you, but try to receive the passion your husband brings whenever he brings it. Consider experimenting with just giving an automatic yes whenever he's asking, so you don't miss an opportunity to have all the pleasure and connection with him. If that doesn't work for you, consider being receptive to lovemaking at least once a week as a way of acknowledging. I mean, for them, it's once a week because they don't go to the mikvah, but just like for us, it's different. Again, you are the expert on your life. Do whatever feels right for you. And do whatever feels, even like, let's say you, I don't know, you say no to him all the time, like even if you say one less no, it's already going to make things better, and it's already going to change your relationship. It's, again, this is all baby steps. Like take whatever you want and, you know, experiment with it. See if it brings about changes in your relationship. It's again, doing the same things expecting different results doesn't is the definition of insanity. So if you want to have a more intimate relationship, just try with all these different things that we're, you know, discussing tonight. Just like experiment with it. So be vulnerable. Vulnerability around sex is much more attractive than criticizing or complaining that he doesn't initiate or isn't doing it right. You'll never feel as vulnerable as when you're seducing your husband with your feminine magnetism. Instead of initiating the way a man would, right? That's a man's way of starting things. So just using our feminine magnetism. Your husband just wants to make you happy. In this case, by bringing you the orgasm. It can't hurt to tell him what you would love in bed, even if it feels scary and secret. You know, this, by the way, this happens when I get like these distractions. I know there's a lot of light in a topic, and like the Satan is like my dog is acting like a crazy person right now and distracting me from doing this. I don't have little kids, but I have, this is, sorry. The real time, real life. All right. So we are in, okay, we're in being vulnerable and expressing our vulnerability and just telling him what you like and what makes you feel good. All right, express gratitude. The more your husband feels appreciated for his efforts, the more he'll be inspired to treat you like his queen. Why not thank him for making you orgasm? Why not thank him for making you feel sexy? What you focus on increases, and in the bedroom, you have a chance to focus on feeling gratified, beautiful, and desired by acknowledging those things out loud. If you feel that the lovemaking is lacking overall in some way, perhaps a spouse fulfilling prophecy. So we're gonna learn about that, but it's kind of something that we've spoken about already. Is just the thing to inspire him to pay more attention to the things that make your toes curl. How to tell him what you want in bed. One great way to make your sex life more fun is to let your husband know exactly what you want, from bubble baths or a slow dance to making out in the car. But having a conversation about what's going on in the heat of the moment can take you both out of the moment, and that makes it a lot more challenging to express your desires in the bedroom. So if there's like a moment and there's heat, that's never a good time to talk about what's going on. You know, a lot of times the best thing to do is to say, I really want to solve this problem. You know, we're focusing on solutions. I really want to solve this problem, but I'm not ready right now. So just removing yourself, saying, I need to go for a walk. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to clear my head. And when both of you are in a space where your shields are down, where your defenses are down, and you're ready to talk, that's a good time to talk about your, you know, where you want to, your desires. If you have a fan, okay, I guess you guys could read this stuff on your own. So these are some self-fulfilling prophecies. I love how you seduced me last night, or I had a great orgasm, or just letting him know, again, giving him a roadmap to your happiness. Like, what makes you happy? Like, I love this. You know, when you do that, that makes me happy. He doesn't know, he doesn't read our mind. But when we let him know, like we give him a roadmap to our happiness, he's here. Hashem put him in this world to make us happy. But when I'm complaining of like, no, I don't like that, and when you did that, I didn't like that, we're not giving him a roadmap to what we want. So the way to let him know what we want is to tell him, oh, thank you for doing that, or I loved it when you did, you know, blah blah blah. So that's how we basically let him know what we want. So this is basically teaches how to express our desires in the way that inspires him to give us what we want. And it makes him feel, and when he does, and when we thank him, it makes him feel more successful and manly. This can be a really fun conversation, whispering in his ear and saying it with no expectations. It's likely to get the sparks flying. It's fun and bonding to share a secret, and it heightens the anticipation. Another great way to teach your husband what you like in bed is to communicate non-verbally, whether by moaning, whimpering, screaming, but only when he's doing something that feels good to you. Don't fake. Faking things never ever works. Don't be a faker. Like, do it if you really mean it. Because when you fake it, you're not giving him the roadmap to your happiness. You know, be real, be vulnerable. Tell him if something feels good, let him know. There's different ways that you can let him know that. If he stops doing the thing that you like, or if he's doing something you don't like, be silent. He'll get the message. If you continue to moan after he stopped, or when he's doing what doesn't feel good, he'll have a much harder time figuring out what you like. Men love feedback, and the way you say it, and the way that you say it. That's not doing it for me, is to go silent. So when you don't respond to him, that's how he knows that no, this is not what I want. So just like, you know, be mindful of how you respond to him in bed. The only way he knows he's delighting you is when he hears you enjoying yourself. Don't give him the wrong signal. So just be mindful of, you know, how you're giving your signals, and, you know, let him know what you want, and just, you know, don't respond if it's not something that you why sex goes missing and how to get it done. If you don't want to have sex ever, something's wrong. There's a popular myth and a diagnosis with a corresponding drug treatment that lack of desire is caused by hormonal shifts. Again, this is something that's been in our society, and I don't agree with her on that 100%, because there is something to it, but our belief about it, like we put so much belief, and we will, that's it. This is my problem. Yes, it is a problem. There is a problem out there, but it doesn't mean that it's everyone's problem. Like, we all have stuff with hormones. A lot of times it's our mindset and how we feel about it, and how we think about it. But one thing that actually I was working on this with my sister-in-law Larissa. She's in our group. She's a dietitian, and she's a functional dietitian, which means that she does the holistic approach to nutrition. And she was actually helping me balance my hormones. And when I started taking certain supplements and whatever, I did notice a difference in my libido. So definitely, like, the hormones and the balancing 100% has an effect on us, because our physical body, you know, does impact the way that we're going to feel about things. But a lot of it's all connected. It's all interconnected. But she also said that it could be like the reason why you're not in the mood You know, sometimes I'll be like, oh, it's my hormones, but really the reason why it's not in the book, it could be that you're hurt and angry from years of arguing or feeling neglected. Using the intimacy skills will help remedy that in a hurry. It could also be that you just don't like feeling that out of control. You know, sex is vulnerable and you're not composed when it's happening and you can't make yourself hurry up. That never works. To women, the whole thing can feel a little uncivilized when we're not in the mood. But sex is not only proper, it can make you feel amazing on lots of levels. Husbands just want their wives to be happy, and that's never truer than in the bedroom. I'm happy to report that my husband has memorized a complicated set of procedures that reliably bring me orgasm. Your husband would probably be glad to do the same. He'll go to just about any lengths to make you happy in the bedroom if you tell him what you want. If you don't know, that's something for you to figure out. What gets you going, what turns you on the most, only you can determine that. So it's well worth it to spend some time experimenting until you find the yellow brick road to orgasm and can show your husband. So there's a lot of like therapies and sex therapists, like some people, you know, went through trauma. It's very important to heal that part of ourselves because that's not his job, it's our job to take care of that. If you're not climaxing, that's a big loss for both of you. He wants to know that he made you feel good and you want that pleasurable release. If lovemaking feels like a tedious road to nowhere, it will naturally move to the bottom of your to-do list. So make it your mission to climax. Your husband will gladly join the mission if you express your desire purely. Keep going until you get to Oz. Here's another possible cause of sex that's gone missing. Maybe you've turned your husband down so often that he thinks it's a waste of time to try. But that means you don't ever get to feel physically desired. What a waste to miss out on getting to feel magnetic powers of attraction and the pleasure you were born to enjoy during sex. So again, like if he's been rejected so many times, sometimes he's just like, why bother? You know, every time I try, she rejects me. So just again, use your feminine magnetism and just be happy and, you know, be in a state of be in a good mood and, you know, wear something that you enjoy and just radiate that magnetism. And when he does ask you for something, if you've been rejecting him in the past, just like be open and be receptive and he will get the clue and it'll get the ball rolling to where you want it to go. Okay, and that is it. We are done with that chapter. All right, cameras on. Let's have a conversation, ladies. What are the takeaways? What did you already know? Did you learn something new? Let's chat. Let's talk.
I can go first.
Sure. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So I
Good to
actually
see you.
did this. I did a series of a Rebbitzin in my neighborhood who gave over the 6 intimacy skills like in a Jewish context, kind of like you're doing. She was actually a college teacher, so she did it like it from a different, I guess, from her take and experience and like helping scholars like I guess enjoy like learn how to be a wife and whatever. So I'll tell you a lot of things that were familiar, but I just like the whole thing you said about making comments about nutrition, like the mother-son relationship. I guess that brought like that reminded me because I kind of forgot about that. I feel like I've been doing that a little bit. And it's like I wouldn't say it's hard to stop. I just feel like I'm trying to do you a favor because I care about you. But again, I guess that's like a motherly thing to do. So I think I need to stop that. But I do have a question that I wanted to ask you. It's a little bit it's not necessarily only regarding physical intimacy, but just kind of like when you ask for something and then you don't get it, like how do you not have an expectation when you're asking, and how do you not let how do you let go of the disappointment it naturally gives you?
Right.
And
so it's kind of like the concept of let go and let God.
yeah,
We're literally like expressing the desire. It's not really to our husband, it's to God, right? It's I'm expressing I would love, you know, a new pair of shoes and letting go of the when and the how and the who. Because if I tell my husband I would love a new pair of shoes, the story in my head is I want a new pair of shoes from Macy's that cost this much and they're this and whatever, right? And like, and you need to buy them for me. But what if a box like was delivered to my house, and like let's say it came from my brother, or I don't know, it came from where, like it's that ability of I express my desire and I can receive it from multiple sources of, let's say I want flowers for Shabbat, right? And I want like
Okay.
these flowers, and I ended up my kids bring me a bouquet from my garden instead of me getting an expensive bouquet from the store. Like I my desire was to receive flowers. It's like when we put these, the control into our desire, we're clenching. We're not able to receive what we want. We're like in this energy instead of in energy of flow and like receiving.
Are we never allowed to want something in a specific time? It makes it seem like you could want stuff, but like don't be attached to when you'll get it. Like just want it, but it's kind of annoying to want stuff you don't get.
So that part, so that feeling of it's annoying, it comes from it's a block. It comes from childhood. It kind of comes from, when we're kids, we're always just like, I want this and I want that, and it's like painful. So you know what? I'm just we tell our parents, I want this and I want this and I want, they're like, no, 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 no. We're like in this no energy, and then we learn how to not even we disconnect from our desires altogether. It's too painful to want, because every time I
Right.
want something, it gets shut down,
Right. I could
right?
totally get that. I hear that.
So
I
this
think
is
I
the
have that, yeah.
reason. This is the right. So this is the reason why you feel the way you feel. But right, you're not a child anymore. You're a grown woman, and it's safe for you to, because really you're expressing your desire. It's not to your husband. It's not to your parents. It's to God. And God can fulfill your desires. So once you just learn how to, right now, your neshama, and the reason why your neshama went through all those experiences through you being a child and being suppressed is because it wants to open that up for you. It's not even from being a child. It's like, like I'm into energy, so it's like past life. It's generational. It's like your neshama literally came to this world, and she said that I'm going to learn how to express my desires and how to receive.
Yeah.
So start with, so I love this. I have my journal, and I just write things that I desire. I would love a new pair of shoes. Anytime a desire pops up, I don't suppress it anymore. I express it. And I don't expect anything. I have the journal that I started like last year when we started doing the skills. And I have checked off, my friends who are here in this group, they know. I have checked off some, and like I just leave it. I write it in and I leave it. I don't look at it. I don't think when, what. Some of the things came a year later, 6 months later, 3 months later, whatever. But just
Such a nice idea.
expressing it feels so good. It's so cathartic. It just feels, this is part of my self-care. Like a thought will pop up in my head. Oh, I would love this. And then just like writing it down in my journal.
Okay. I like the idea. A lot of what you said makes a lot of sense.
And like
I
with your
have, I
husband,
have,
if there's something that, sorry, I'm gonna give you a minute. Um, if there's a desire, like let's say Shoshana was saying about going on vacation, if you have a desire to go on vacation, with your husband, what do we usually do? Oh my God, we never go anywhere. You never take me anywhere. I'm so bored. It's so hot. To say, I would love to go on vacation, or I would love. It would make me feel so good to, just be with you and just connect just the two of us. Like, and then letting go of the result, letting go of what happens. And working on feeling that resentment if it doesn't happen. Just like, Hashem, I gave it to you, and if it's what's best for me, you're going to make it happen. So the more that we surrender to that, the more open we are to receiving.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, somebody was asking something.
I did, but you actually answered it, so it's all good.
I did. Okay.
Okay.
I want to see those
Okay.
journals, ladies. They're so powerful, honestly, and it just feels good just to write all the things that I want, because I want a lot of stuff. And holding it all in my body feels yucky. But then when I like write it out on the paper and then I come and like I'll revisit it 3 months later and I'm like, check, check, check.
I'm sorry, I have a question on the journal. I probably missed it. So when we write it, do we also express it?
If you express it, if it makes sense to express it, like kind of tune into yourself and just you can express some of them.
Okay.
Like give me an example of something that you would want to express.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just thinking, just trying to
So
understand the
when I
journal
say
itself.
right, when I say express, just like taking it out of, even like if you're feeling uncomfortable, the emotions are energy in motion. And when we feel a certain energy and we're like, ouch, that hurts, we clench our body, right? When we feel angry or resentful, we clench our
Yeah.
body and we keep it in. So we're not allowing, like when we're happy, we're very open. The energy comes in, it flows out, and it's in motion. But when we feel those low vibration energies like anger, resentment, hopelessness, whatever it is, we clench up because it hurts, right? We clench up and we don't allow the energy to be in motion. And then it stays stagnant in our body. So expressing means like allowing movement, right? Like water in the ocean, allowing movement. So expressing could be talking about it, calling a friend, or even taking a piece of paper and a pen and just like writing everything that you're feeling. Whatever you want to curse, you like whatever is going on in your head and in your body, all that stagnation, just express it out of your body. This is a way to this is emotional regulation, just like letting it out of your body. In the same way, instead of like holding all those desires in your body, just like expressing doesn't necessarily mean telling somebody about it and expecting them to fulfill those desires. It's just like taking it out and like putting it in flow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
I hope that was helpful. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, we'll all go tonight. All right, ladies, thank you. It was a pleasure. And hopefully I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good night.
And good night.